Going on, guys? And today we'll be talking about Patrick Baldwin Jr., the 6'9", 220-pound with a 6'11" wingspan forward who can also play some wing. And this is a guy who I know he's played so far a little bit over double digits, I think like 11, 12 games. And I know he's shooting like 35% from the field, 27% from the three-point line, but he is shooting 75% from the free throw. He's got 6 rebounds a game, 1.5 assists, about a block and steal a game while averaging 12 points a night. Okay, and this is a guy that he was a big-time recruit. He decided to go to Milwaukee because his dad coaches there. And look, part of the reasons why I think his numbers are really bad is he's on a bad team. His numbers aren't really bad. Just the efficiency, one can argue that is not how one would want it to be, but he's also shooting like 12 shots a game. But let's talk about this guy who I think is a great player and he has a lot of capability to be a good player, and he's going to probably be a lottery, and if he doesn't go in a lottery, I don't see him slipping past like the 20s, okay? And I enjoy him, okay? I enjoy him very much. So let's talk about this guy who I think has shown the ability to be a shooter. I know his percentages don't tell that, but shooting 75% from the free throw line shows that he can develop that shot. He's shown he can be a good rebounder, and right now he hasn't shown the playmaking ability because he doesn't have anybody to pass the ball to. So he's kind of is ball hogging. But if you look back in high school, he's shown the ability to be a good passer and playmaker. Secondary though, he's never going to be a primary passer, but I think he does have the ability to do that. And because he's about 220 pounds, he's done a good job of posting up against small players and having success at that. And I know he's not an elite defender, but he does a good job at getting steals and blocks. And he's I think he's a very good athlete. The problem is he's kind of sometimes on offense, he's a bull in a china shop. He just does too much. He tries to do too much. And he's shown us display of kind of bad shot selection, but that's also because he's on a bad team, so he has to do everything, and that has made him kind of a streaky shooter, which is why he also plays wild on offense. I think with proper development and training in the NBA, he'll have that fixed. And on defense, he's shown the ability to be great, but there are moments where he does have defensive lapses and lags. But he's a guy who's shown he can score at all 3 levels, attacking the rim and slamming down dunk. You know, he has a decent mid-range game, and he can also pull up from 3. And he's an incredibly unselfish basketball player who is a basketball coach's son, so he has high basketball IQ when he's playing well. And he's a guy who can switch. With Patrick Baldwin Jr. is a guy who can guard 1 through 5. He has the perfect blend of size, athleticism, shooting ability, and his potential upside is insane. So whoever gets him, it's going to be awesome. And the thing about him is, what I like about him is he has a very similar frame, you could say, to I think his frame is, I want to say right here on NBA Draft Room, they say Michael Porter Jr. and Mike Beasley. And I think as a player, I don't think he's as good as a scorer as Michael Porter Jr. or Mike Beasley. I think he's got the similar, his weight and thickness is like Beasley, but his length and stuff is like Porter. And I think his game is going to be very reminiscent. I personally, I know I threw this out earlier, but I'm like sitting here and trying to think of guys who are like 6'10", big wing forwards, and I don't know why Rashard Lewis comes into mind. Maybe